West Kilbride was the venue for the Scottish Boys Championship 2010, a course on the Ayrshire coast which had survived the harsh winter better than most and was ready to play host to the 256 competitors that made up the field in what was a really rather wet and windy start to the week. One of the early favourites, Jack Scott, teeing off here. He'd already won the first Junior Tour event up at Monifieth this year and was a real favourite. He struggled on day one though, up against a local boy, Kilmarnock Barasses, Callum Gorey, and this went all the way down the 18th. But in the end, Jack had 2 putts to take the match, which he did, although it wasn't to be his week, as he exited in round 2. Another one of the fancied players this week was Grant Forrest from Craigielaw, and we wondered if the elements in the East Coast matched those he was facing here in the West.
I'm not used to it this windy. I don't think anyone really gets used to playing in this kind of wind, but yeah, it was really tough, and you just have to sort of be a bit more imaginative with your shots and just kind of play it as it goes, yeah.
The youngest player taking part this week was William Wood's 13-year-old George Burns. He'd pulled a tough draw up against Callum Stewart in the first round from Brora. And Callum showing some of the class there that's got him into the boys' squad. But George, well, he wasn't intimidated. He might only be 13 and struggling to stand up in that wind, but it certainly didn't put him off his putting. And there was early tournament nerves from Callum, and this game went all the way down 18. Dean Robertson there, one of the youth coaches, watching on. And Callum Stewart, well, he had this to make George Burns hole out for the victory. And he made it, but still the shake of the head, well, that let you know just what lay ahead for George. Usually, with no pressure, out in a game, these would always go in. But the Scottish Boys does funny things to you. And it was down to the first extra hole for a playoff. A lot of the boys hanging around to see how this one was going to finish. And in the end, well, George had to hold this to keep the game going. And Callum Stewart scraping through by the skin of his teeth. I'm sure that's not the last we'll see of George. And Callum, well, he stayed in the tournament until the quarter-final stage where he lost to Ian Redford. Later on in the week, one of the most intriguing ties in the last 16 was between Scotland under-16 team captain Ewan Scott, who faced another one of the tournament's favourites, Jack McDonald. McDonald had been with the senior squad down in South Africa training and enjoyed a lot of press attention. But what did he make to his young opponent?
He's a great wee player. He's 14, 15 now, so he's really, really good. And it'll be a good game, so hopefully I can get through it, but never know in match play.
Well, McDonald did play well enough for the victory, which was to set up a quarter-final meeting between the winner of the tie between the lowest handicap in the field, Conor O'Neill, and Anthony Blaney, who hadn't been behind all week. A tough tie for O'Neill, especially considering how he felt he'd been playing earlier in the week.
I mean, a lot I've been getting through, I've not been playing well, just kind of holding it together.
Conor's game did come together against Blaney though, and the man who hadn't been behind all week eventually lost out to Conor 5-4.
But today it was a lot more solid. I think I was 3 under today, so the course played a bit easier for me today, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the week, yeah.
Unfortunately, Conor's week wasn't to last much longer, as he lost out in the quarter-finals to Jack McDonald. In the other half of the draw, Falkirk's Jamie Lynch had battled the wind and the rain to get through to the semi-final, where he met Ian Redford from the new club St Andrews, who came out on top on that one, and with Jack McDonald losing to Grant Forrest, that set up our final. on what was a perfect day weather-wise. East Lothian versus Fife, Craigielaw's Grant Forest up against Ian Redford from the new club St Andrews. And straight away on the first green, Redford had this birdie putt to take the lead. Unfortunately for Ian, he missed, and also unfortunately that was to become a bit of a pattern through the day. Here at the second, again Redford with a lovely approach shot, getting it inside Forest. Again he had a chance for a birdie and to take the lead, but squandered it, just rolling the putt by the hole. And there was never more than one in it in the early part of the first round. And as they made their approaches here on 13, the match was all square. Forest was a long way away, but out came the rescue club and a magnificent approach shot up onto the green. Redford missed his longer putt for a 3, leaving this for Grant Forest to take the lead and go back to 1 up. And as we move up onto 14, the crowd's watching on. Again, Grant had this for a 3, for another birdie, and it was good enough to move to 2 up. And that's how the score stayed, as both players parred their way into the 18th, before resuming again in the afternoon. And once again, Redford's long game was absolutely magnificent. He just couldn't get a putt away. He missed there on 6, and as we picked the game up again at the 8th, Forest was now 3 up. And with the breeze getting up just a little, it certainly wasn't affecting the golf. Down onto the par 3 9th, and both players, well, they missed the greens, but any thoughts of nerves were soon gone. Excellent recovery there from Ian, and well, Grant off the pin, and he too was down in 3, another half. But by the time we reached the 13th again, perhaps the nerves and the emotions were beginning to kick in a little. Ian Redford sailing his approach over the green and into the bush. He didn't get his putt back, and that left Grant to hold that for a 4, to go back to 3 up, and a little punch of the air, and it was all getting very tense. And as the crowds made their way down onto the 16th, well, Forest was still 3 up. So Ian Redford knew that he had to hold this to have any chance of taking the game down 17, and he missed. And unfortunately that was the story of the day for Ian. And that meant that Grant Forest had this to become Scottish Boys Champion 2010. Winning by 3-2. Great sportsmanship at the end, and we caught up with the players to get their thoughts and asked Grant how it felt to be Scottish Boys Champion.
Oh, it's brilliant. I don't think it's fully sunk in yet, but it's a great feeling. It's been a long week, and I've played some good golf, and I'm not too sure what to say. It's just brilliant, yeah.
After the round, I've taken the positives after everything. I've progressed to the final. I've never done that before, and each year I've progressed to a further round. So, aspects of my game's improved, and I'm just glad to see myself improving. But disappointed to not come out on top today.
It's scary to think when we came here this morning. There's only 2 of us left after 256 of us started. We both made our mistakes, and look, I don't think I made as many mistakes really.
I drove it good. Short game was good, but the putters in the sea, it was just, I just couldn't hold a thing. Couldn't hold a thing today.
Since Wednesday, the weather's just been impeccable, and the greenkeepers have done a great job with the weather we've had over the winter, and even recently. And the SGU have just done really well to organise it. Managed to keep it all running smoothly. Yeah, it's a great platform to build on. Obviously, people will see me as sort of Scottish Boys Champion now, which is always a good thing, and can hopefully just keep playing like this the way I have all year.